Do you want to hold up your notes really quick? And these are Kristen's notes, 11 pages. And these are my notes.
But you have it all up here, and like I reread this book a week ago and already forgot it all, and and I've read it 10 times and had to flip back through every page today.
It's so funny to me.
So
Okay,
drink because we're off topic.
Mm-hmm.
Hi guys, welcome to Kristen and Katie Read. I'm Kristen.
I'm Katie.
And we like to
read.
Cheers to Friday night.
Cheers to Friday night.
Tonight, it's Friday when we're filming this. We're super excited because we are going to be talking about one of our favorite books, City of Bones. This is going to be a super deep dive, chapter by chapter, examining all of the moments, reliving them with you. We are going to talk about things that happen not just in this book, but all of the books. So there are definitely spoilers. Be warned.
Don't forget that if you like what you see, subscribe, like, comment on the video, go follow us on Instagram.
Same name on Instagram, Kristen and Katie Read. And that's it. We thought we'd spice up this deep dive with a little drinking game. Really because it's Friday, really because I like to drink. So we're just, as we were chatting about the book, we realized there's a few moments that occur quite a bit, and we thought that they were toast worthy. So every time Jace makes us laugh, whether he's Jace Whalen, Jace Lightwood, Jonathan Christopher Morgan. So are you doing it to me?
Oh man,
you
so
drink.
Funny.
Second rule.
Yes.
Every time our dear Clarissa forgets sweet baby Simon, you gotta drink. Poor Simon. Always forgotten.
So before discussing each part of the book, we kind of wanted to go over one of the themes that we noticed just in City of Bones, because obviously there are a ton of themes throughout the trilogy and throughout the 6-part series, but specifically for City of Bones, one of the biggest themes that we found was the idea of going down the rabbit hole or through the looking glass. The idea that you could be like living in your normal world and another world could be like just past what you see. Being this like wonderful and magical place that also is really dangerous under what you see and can actually be like really terrifying. We want to keep that in mind because a lot of the like epitaphs are about this idea of like descent, going down, further in, just keeping that like in the back of our heads as we like go through all the scenes. Like this is definitely something that ties the whole book together.
Yes. Yeah. Katie and I both have our copies. Mine, the spine is getting a little bit yellow.
Oh my god, mine's disgusting.
But we both have original covers. So, I mean, in 2007, can I just tell you that this cover...
Mine's also from my personal library.
This cover, though, was so 2007 in a way that, like, makes me so nostalgic. Like, shirtless boy, glowing, he's got long, flowy hair, tattoos, a little bit of a bad boy. Like, I'm into it. I'm already into it.
I was 100% hooked. Just to remind you, an ex-boyfriend gave me this book to read. What was he thinking?
City of Bones was broken up into 3 parts, which I really like how Cassandra Clare does. She does it in all of her books. She has multiple parts. So opening City of Bones, part 1 is The Dark Descent.
So just to prove how much of a literary luminary Cassandra Clare is, she has not 1 but 2 quotes before the first chapter. I do wish that she would go a little bit more into like angel mythology.
I have some notes. I think she is. I think that's where we're headed, folks. This is a long-term prediction. I'm throwing it out there now.
Oh my god.
I think the Wicked whatever
Powers?
Series, I think... Because I forgot something.
Yeah.
Are we amending the rules? I think we should also drink every time we get off topic and I forget how to say something or read something. We might have to take a break to go get more champagne. With that being said, the novel starts. Okay,
Okay, so the novel starts with not one, but two quotes. I have not slept. Between the acting of a dreadful thing and the first motion, all the interim is. Like a phantasma or a hideous dream, the genius and the mortal instruments are then in council, and the state of man, like a little kingdom, suffers then the nature of an insurrection. So that's from Julius Caesar, written by none other than the bard himself, William Shakespeare.
That is so interesting. Do you think she got the idea for Mortal Instruments from that?
Yes.
Or do you think she...
100%.
That's wild.
No, yeah, but she does this a lot too, because I know that's how she got Infernal Devices.
Amazing. Next quote is the beginning of part 1, The Dark Descent.
So this is from Paradise Lost by John Milton. I sung of chaos and eternal night, taught by the heavenly muse to venture down the dark descent and up to reascend. So obviously Paradise Lost is about like going through the realms of hell, Pandemonium being the capital, and Beelzebub and Satan, and all of these are like characters that are kind of humanized through John Milton.
So chapter 1, Pandemonium.
Run that by one more
I'll
time.
go ahead and spell it right here so you can kind of see it. Pandemonium. I can't do it. You do it. You do it.
Pandemonium.
Okay, so
Pandemonium.
like Kitty mentioned, capital of hell in Paradise Lost. It's also the name of the club where we first meet our main character, Clary, and her best friend, Simon, as they're going in because Clary likes to dance, is what we're led to believe. And Clary immediately notices a blue-haired boy. Do you have thoughts?
I wrote down, Clary has bad taste in men. Look at that blue hair.
She notices the
So
blue-haired
bad.
boy. Simon notices her noticing him. We quickly realize Simon is secretly in love with her. Not so secretly, everyone knows it. He's trying to find a way to tell her, but just it never works out timing-wise for our boy. And so she notices the blue-haired boy and 3 teenagers disappear into a back warehouse. She follows them. She hears them having a weird conversation. She doesn't understand the words that they're saying. When it appears that they are going to strike down the boy and kill him,
That she has a crush on. She can't let that happen.
she cannot let that happen. She jumps out and yells at them to stop. They are shocked that she can see them. They express that she is a Mundi.
Super offensive.
Katie does not like the term. It is later dropped. They don't use it anymore.
No, because she realized that sounded terrible.
Yeah, it sounds like mudblood. Is what
Yeah.
it sounds like, yeah. So, they think that she is human, not a part of the shadow world. The
Jace
demon then attacks Jace, and they end up killing the demon. Clary thinks they've killed this human boy, but the boy disappears. Simon comes in with the security guard. Clary quickly realizes Simon cannot see the 3, and they disappear into the night, and her and Simon go home. So Clary thinks she's going crazy. And that's
Yes.
where we meet our girl.
There's a shockingly early Valentine drop.
Yes, the demon. You get your first Valentine name drop.
Yeah, and like the 3 are immediately like, what are you talking about? He's dead. Like, you're just trying to save your life.
Yeah. So then we get into chapter 2, Secret and Lies. So Clary's mom is not pleased that they're out late. Clary's at home drawing, just thinking about her night, dreaming about this attractive boy she saw.
Which one? There were so many there.
Clary's mom, Jocelyn, and her friend Luke come back to the apartment. Luke. They are arguing. Her mom expresses to Clary that they are leaving the city for the summer and that she cannot stay behind. Clary, being a teenager, is obviously very distraught about this, says she's super pissed, she's not going.
She paid for those classes.
She
at
paid
Tisch.
for art classes. She cannot possibly go. So on her way out, when her mom and Luke are fighting, Clary overhears the word Bane and Jonathan. She doesn't know what or who Bane is and believes that Jonathan is the name of her dead father. So she's confused by why this name is being thrown around. Luke decides he's over the conversation, is going to storm out himself, beating Clary to it, and tells Jocelyn to, quote, tell Clary the truth, and leaves.
Jocelyn, such an interesting mix of like the stereotypical super strict parent,
Yeah.
but also like the free spirit artist parent.
And then you learn, oh shoot, mom was in a really evil cult. Anyways, chapter 3 is titled Shadowhunter. So Clary and Simon go to the coffee shop where they're going to hear a friend's poetry reading. When Simon gets up to get their drinks, a girl asks Clary if Simon is her boyfriend because she thinks he's cute, and Clary hesitates before saying no. Interesting. When Simon returns, she does decide reluctantly to tell him about this girl, and he says, I can't ask out any of these girls that think I'm cute, Clary, because I like someone else. I have something to tell you. And then she hears a chuckle from behind, turns around. What's that?
Jace already made me laugh.
Is that Jace's music? I don't.
Thank God, he was gone too long.
Clary interrupts Simon, does not let him finish what we, as the reader, we know what he's doing, trying to tell her.
I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had the best
Like, I mean, Katie reigniting 2009 fires over here.
That's
My
right.
God. She tells Simon, hold on, I gotta go, runs after Jace into the street.
Which is so wild. If you did that to me in a coffee shop, not that I'd be, I mean, I could profess my love to you, but
I would hear you out.
If you literally like straight up left me at a coffee shop and
Not
then just disappeared.
And it's tough
Furious.
because Clary does not think about Simon again for several chapters. Like, she straight up forgets that this is the last time she sees him. Anyways. Okay, so they run out into the street, and there's a really hilarious back and forth between Jace and Clary, really already establishing just their great chemistry and banter that they have. Jace says the reason he was laughing is because he finds declarations of love hilarious, especially when unrequited. It's so sad. Oh my God. She
It's so
literally
funny.
she doesn't even register basically these words, like doesn't even occur to her what he's talking about, because Clary sometimes, dear Gord. Yeah.
Squashes
the
and
pumpkin.
gourds.
Squashes and gourds, oh my. So they're out in the street, and Jace asks to see her hand. We know that he's looking for the rune that most Shadowhunters have on the back of their hand that they get when they're kids. He tells her that Hodge, his tutor, wants to meet her because, quote, there hasn't been a mundane who knew about us for at least 100 years. Okay, here is the first moment we can see maybe that she wasn't intending at this point in time to write 25 books.
Right. 100%.
Right. Because as we already know in the prequels, there are humans involved. And this is clearly just Jace's perspective. We learn very quickly from other characters' points of view that how Jace sees the shadow world is not how others see it or understand it.
Right.
He holds them in such this high esteem that they're so elite.
Well, and it seems like their history keeping is bad. Yeah. So I mean, knowing that there were humans with the site
For sure.
in London.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Clary receives a phone call from her mother. She's frantic, tells her no matter what not to come home, that to go to Simon's and to call Luke and tell him that, quote, he found me. So Clary's freaking out, trying to figure out what's going on. Jace is trying to calm her down. Her reaction is to slap him across the face. I'm confused by that move. And then run home, exactly where her mother told her not to go. So, perfect.
Classic heroine.
I have a note here specifically for you.
Oh.
On page 36, Simon asks Clary what she wants to drink, and she says, just coffee, black, like my soul. And I have a note that says, such a high school Katie line, my God. And we have the term Shadowhunter explained to us, and Jace, his basic way of explaining it is they're people who kill demons. All the stories are true, that there's night children, warlocks, the fae. Then it's another sentence where they clarify there are also vampires, werewolves, and zombies, but not mummies. Chapter 4, Ravener. When she arrives back at her home, she passes Dorothea, their downstairs neighbor, in the hall, and immediately when she gets into the house, there's a Ravener demon. But we also get our second Valentine name drop here from this demon. While she's struggling to fight with this demon, she actually accomplishes to kill the demon, but also gets poisoned and passes out. She wakes up to Jace being there and tells her that they have to get to the Institute to get the poison out. Fading quickly, Jace decides to mark Clary to hide her from the recon demons that are arriving on scene. So I have a note here, marking her without knowing what it would do to her.
Did it save her life?
It's
Did it save her life?
It's a shocking look because here
It
we
saved her
have
life.
it did. What if Clary turned into Forsaken?
Well, then he could have killed her.
I guess you're not wrong.
It's not like she would have taken over the city. I mean, like...
Oh my god.
I mean, she was dead anyway. She was dead.
She was gonna die.
He
You're
saved
right,
her life. Although I did
difference-
say, what a wild look for Jace. So, I, too, agree. She was dead, no matter what.
Yeah. When after he marks her and she passes out, whatever, it says he caught her as if he was used to catching fainting girls with a note here.
Oh my god.
This happened to someone that we know.
This is 100% a true story.
We know a guy
100%.
the girls were just enamored with. That passed 4 girls in
4
different
girls
settings
in 1 year.
fainted into his arms. So this really resonated with me. I was like, what a believable line. We're off topic. And we're okay. Chapter 5, Clave and Covenant.
Clary is asleep for 3 days, and while she's asleep, she has dreams.
Yes.
And the dreams are very foreshadowy. So the dreams held her one after the other, a river of images that bore her along like a leaf tossed in a current. She saw her mother lying in a hospital bed, eyes like bruises in her white face. She saw Luke standing atop a pile of bones, Jace with white feathered wings sprouting out his back,
Wow.
Isabel sitting naked with her whip curled around her like a net of gold rings, Simon with crosses burned into his palm, the palms of his hands, angels falling and burning, falling out of the sky.
That's wild. This is actually almost too much for me to process that she wrote this in chapter 5 of book 1. Because while this does play a part in this initial series, I feel like this almost has more impact in 4, 5, and 6.
Yes. So just to unpack this a little bit, this is before Clary learns that her mom is unconscious.
Yeah.
And that she eventually does end up in a hospital bed. She goes to a mundane hospital to be treated at the end of this book. Luke, standing atop a pile of bones, we learned that not only was Luke a member of the Circle, so literally he has blood on his hands from that, but also
He kills many pack leaders to take over the packs, like 3 different times.
Yes, so he kills pack leaders as a werewolf to be leader of packs, to be the alpha.
He's also willing to kill anyone to protect Clary and Jocelyn.
Hilarious when Clary is like, he doesn't want me anymore.
Oh.
Okay. Jace with white feathered wings sprouting out of his back.
Cool.
I mean, we know that he
has angel blood.
He has extra angel blood. And so...
And then heavenly fire.
And heavenly fire,
Ooh.
he has that. Isabel sitting naked with her whip curled around her like a net of gold rings. I mean, for Izzy, I'm not sure if this is as applicable for her, but I do think that she does, her and Alec both experience feeling constrained by the shadow, like by being a Shadowhunter, which is like her whip is a symbol of.
I always think of it as like she's so she is so confident in everything that she wears and that she does, and she uses all of these things to help define her and kind of shield her from any type of deep emotion. And I think that like what she experiences with losing Max in the 3rd book, she feels like no matter what she's equipped herself with, it's stripped away, and she's just this broken girl and has her weapon around her. And it's just really, Izzy's story is one of my favorite. I love Izzy's arc. She's so great. And then not last, but Simon with crosses burned into the palms of his hands. So we know that Simon is Jewish. Mm-hmm. So him having crosses burned into his hands would already be like weird. And then knowing that vampires can't say like God, mm-hmm. or like it's like hard for a lot of them to talk about like Christianity. And then just knowing he gets the mark of Cain, which is such a deeply deep in the Bible
burned into his forehead.
Yes.
I mean, so, and then last, angels falling and burning, falling out of the sky.
Wow.
Literally the clave is on fire. Like throughout this whole series, mm-hmm. everything that they're standing for is at risk.
There's literally a book called Fallen Angels. It's also the title of an upcoming novel. Like, wild.
Right.
It's wild. She's
right.
incredible.
So, I mean, just like such a huge chapter for foreshadowing that it's insane.
This is page 57. Like, it's well before we're 100 pages in. It's just the amount of information you get in this book.
And the amount of information that you get that you later have to unlearn.
Yeah. So, Clary wakes up. Izzy helps Clary get out of bed. She's walking her somewhere around the Institute. And Izzy tells her, after knowing her for not a long time, that Jace's mom died when he was born. And his dad was murdered when he was 10 in front of him. And I would like to cue the sad boy music right here because, wow. This is the perfect recipe for
a sad boy.
A sad boy.
100%.
What is a sad boy?
Actually, a sad boy, although Gen Z might think that they have created this. Basically, the millennial emo kid.
Yeah.
But Jace is hot. And something so tragic has happened to him that it excuses his bad behavior.
Yes, and his defense mechanism is humor. And I'm here for it. He's tortured, and I'm here for it. Izzy takes her to Jace, and Jace is like playing the piano. I don't know if I believe that.
And the line that he says, "Alec, is that you?" And then that's also one of the first lines that Jem says to Tessa in Clockwork Angel. He asks,
"Hey,
Will, is that you?"
You can't just say things like that. Jesus Christ!
But it's the same thing.
Don't make me cry. Jace takes her to Hodge on their way. Jace explains that the adults are in Idris, their home country, and that's also where he grew up. When they get to Hodge, Hodge wonders why a demon would be after her mother. No doubt because he clearly knows more than he's letting on. Looking at her, hearing the name Frey, he's maybe thinking of Jocelyn. Maybe he doesn't know yet.
Clary looks just like her.
Yeah, like they've established she looks just like Jocelyn. So Hodge yells at Jace for marking Clary, as he should. Clary learns that she could have been turned into Forsaken here.
I said Jace marking her and only being 90% sure is hilarious. Also,
is it?
Also, Clary slapping him for it is also great.
Yeah, she slaps him twice in this book. And she finally calls Luke, and he basically tells her, like, you can't come here, like, stop bothering me. She interprets this as, like, he doesn't care about her or her mom, which, again, seems like it's a little silly of her to not realize what he's doing. But fine, we'll buy it for now.
She's 15.
She's 15. Hodge continues to give us some great exposition, explaining to us who Valentine is, that he's supposedly been dead for 15 years. We learn about what the Accords are, which are the agreement between Shadowhunters and the Downworlders, that they won't hunt the Downworlders if they adhere to these peace rules. And we also get the story of the creation of the Nephilim. We learn that the cup is gone, the mortal cup.
It's been missing.
More on the mortal instruments later. She doesn't learn about those just yet. And Hodge expresses that he's going to send a letter to the Clave and the Silent Brothers who might want to talk to her. So here's where I have some notes. He obviously does send a letter to the Silent Brothers.
Sure.
But doesn't send a letter to the Clave.
No.
Are the Silent Brothers, like, not talking to the Clave?
Well, they don't talk.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Their mouth is
There's no loophole.
Literally sewn shut. I agree.
How could I not notice that?
I mean, I think that the Silent Brothers are, like
we
kind
don't
of
have
in their own world.
Shared database, like, hey, update, report. Okay. In this chapter, we learn that it is illegal to marry a mundane, which is huge implications in future books. It's really just their marriage laws in general that comes back up. Like, the Clave and their outdated laws are such a big part of the future novels that it's interesting, not knowing she was going to write those yet, getting this line in this chapter. And then this is also where we're really starting to, like, learn more about Alec and how harsh he is, but why he's so harsh.
You mean that Alec is a curmudgeon? Curmudgeon.
A note here, folks.
Alec, a curmudgeon in this book.
Alec is a curmudgeon. We learn about parabatis. We learn, this is really interesting since parabatis play such a key role in the two other main series.
Yeah.
Parabatis are the big plot point.
3 other series.
Yeah, the biggest plot point to date, which is wild. But we learn that Jace and Alec are parabatai, which Jace simply explains as means a pair of warriors who fight together who are closer than brothers. So obviously we learn more about this with Will and Jen and clearly with Emma and Julian. My God. We also learn a little bit about church. He takes them around. He's clearly can understand what they're saying. He's a fat blue Persian. So more on church later, but
yes, we have lots of
he's
lots of cats to discuss.
So chapter 6 is called Forsaken. Hodge tells Clary that she can go back to her house to see if there's anything left. Bad adulting on Hodge's part.
Again, like so many clues that Hodge's intentions are not great.
Yes. So he says she can go as long as she takes Jace. Clary goes up to the weapons room to get him. We actually get the quote that I think is the theme of this book, where he says, "Down the rabbit hole," and he grins at her. Love that. When they get there, they're attacked by Forsaken. I'm shocked that they're attacked immediately. When they're trying to get out, she suddenly is hit with a memory of her mom, remembering scars on her back that she never noticed before. So you can kind of start to see, okay, there's maybe things about Clary's own past that we can't trust. Everything she thought.
Right, she's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, which is super interesting. On their way out, Madame Dorothea, their downstairs neighbor, invites them in. And this to me is really where you see Jace's stance, and just he's so solidly and certain about who he is as a part of the Clave.
Yes.
And that the Shadowhunters and their mission and their creed is so pure and correct. And just immediately Dorothea shreds that apart. Like, she's immediately like, the law is hard, but it is the law. And she's like, but maybe too hard. And he's shocked that this woman who is not a warlock knows of the shadow world. Like, guess what, buddy? In the last, 24 hours, you've met multiple people who can see the shadow world. Like, maybe other people can see it. You learn that his last name is Wayland here.
Okay.
Jace's first last name that we learn. And then we get into chapter 7. They're still in Dorothea's apartment, the 5-dimensional door. Jace actually makes a joke and calls her Frey. And here we go, folks. She thinks of Simon for the first time since she left the coffee shop.
Wow.
Because that's what he calls her. I mean, it's been days.
Also, the juxtaposition of learning Jace's fake real name, name, and then Clary's actual fake last name.
Yeah.
Like, having that be, so
right
close together.
So true.
Hilarious.
Dorothea explains that her mom was a warlock who adopted her. This is important to note because warlocks, to our knowledge, can't have children. Another reason I like starting with this book, because if you'd read the prequels, if you read it in chronological order, you would know that wasn't true already. And that she adopted her because she wanted, not because love, she wanted someone to keep watch of what we don't know yet, but we know almost immediately,
clearly
of the portal.
Yes.
So Dorothea reads Jace's teacup, prophesizing, you'll fall in love with the wrong person. Also, you have an enemy. Which Jace immediately makes a joke about, oh, great, I only have one enemy, and just misses kind of the you will fall in love with the wrong person.
Right, because love isn't important to Jace.
Yes. But what's interesting is, he doesn't actually fall in love with the wrong person.
This is what, yes, okay. This is what I would like to talk about. Because this has always bugged me.
But he also has more than one enemy. So it's kind of like maybe she's just full of it.
Right. So, either this is, as many fantasies do, false prophecies or self-fulfilling prophecies, but it really does set up this idea of helping you buy in to,
and it's not true
that he falls in love with Clary, and it ends up not being true. But he does have an enemy.
Yeah, he has an enemy, but he also has several. A lot of people don't like
but
him.
I just it really does set you up to be oh, okay, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Also that she can't read Clary's tea leaves.
She can't read Clary's tea leaves, so she has her pull a tarot card. But this to me just is more proof of Clary's power, that her ability to sense runes is that she pulls the Ace of Hearts that has the Mortal Cup painted on it. Because it's speaking to her. The runes are on there that her mother drew. She pulls that card. So that's where we first get.
But it's also about love. That
Yeah.
card's about love.
So it's kind of like a misdirect. It makes you think that it's about, oh, he's going to fall along with the wrong person. It's her. Oh, she's going to fall in love. Like, it's a brilliant way to distract us from what we're actually seeing in that scene. Like, Jace pieces together that Dorothea's mom was a control, not a controller, a control.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a weird title to me, and it's not. We never hear it again.
It reminds me of like
She's
ley
in control.
lines.
Yeah,
Like she's in charge of like something that can't be moved. So
Yes.
like
yeah.
So
So
that is an
as a
interesting term.
control, it's kind of like a sanctuary. It's like where you can hide out from the clave. So it's basically a place for people that are on the run from the clave, mainly downworlders or Shadowhunters that want to be hidden. Jace reveals that there is a portal behind the curtain, and realizing that Clary's mom wanted to be here in case she needed to make a fast escape, which we know she's not able to do. Clary, just being a 15-year-old, not understanding portals at all, decides to fling open the portal and thinking it'll take her where her mom wanted to go. So,
But ultimately, who does it lead to?
Simon. Yeah, what she forgets about. Okay, so while they're talking to Dorothea, they're talking about the different legends in the Shadow World. And he's like, the legend has it that fairies are fallen angels cast out of heaven for their pride.
Mm-hmm.
And just with how important fairies are in the later stuff.
Yeah, in the Dark Artifices. And the air and
So
the
much we don't
Herondale
know.
line being crossed with fairies.
Mhm.
And what we know about Jason, Clary, and their angel blood.
Mm-hmm.
What could be important about fairy and angel blood.
I just feel like it's very notable. So, pin that. They quickly run into Simon, who Clary was notably not thinking about.
Simon at the bookshop. Drink.
Simon points out that the last time he saw her, she was running out of the coffee shop, and that she didn't even bother to call him. He's not wrong. That's absolutely what she did. If you didn't call me for 5 days and you just run out, I'd be pissed. They quickly fill Simon in on the Shadow World, and he's all in. He buys it.
It is like truly wild to me that like bringing Clary in was like such a big deal, and Jace is just like, you can tell him, I guess.
You can tell him, no worries. So he explains that he's been watching Luke's place, trying to figure out what's going on with Clary. They break into Luke's place because they don't believe that he's there. They see manacles on the wall because he's a werewolf.
Or just kinky.
They see people approaching and they hide. So you find out that it is two different gentlemen, Blackwell and Pangborn, and they're talking to Luke as they walk in. They tell Luke that Jocelyn has not regained consciousness, so Clary's overhearing this, learning that her mom is unconscious.
But alive.
But alive. The men believe that she's hidden the moral cup. They offer to trade Jocelyn for the cup, and Luke says he's not interested in that trade. He wants to stay out of Valentine's way. After like 100 hints in this chapter that Luke is a wolf, they leave. And turn, after they leave, they all turn to each other, kind of chat about it, and Jace reveals that these are the two men who murdered his father.
Dun dun dun.
So dramatic, Jace.
So dramatic.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my
I mean,
gosh.
it's not funny, but like, it's also kind of funny how he says it. And then the last chapter of part 1 is called The Circle and the Brotherhood. So they return to the Institute. They let Simon come in with them. Mundane hasn't come in 100 years.
100 years?
Sure. But sure. When they get there, Hodge reveals that the Circle must be rising, takes them to the library, and shows them the Circle's decree. Some real Nazi vibes here. I hereby render unconditional obedience to the Circle and its principles. I will be ready to risk my life at any time for the Circle in order to preserve the purity of bloodlines of Idris and for the mortal world with whose safety we are charged.
So basically the Circle's whole ideology is that like downworlders all have some kind of demon blood in them, because we learned that werewolves and vampires, those are like demon viruses that have come into this world.
And initially that's not their stance. Initially they really are just focused on demons, but when Valentine's dad is murdered,
right,
he's like, well, they're also not pure. So while this decree covers that,
right,
it's not what it
this is mostly about demons, but it turns into being about downworlders.
I mean,
too.
some real pure blood Idris-ish right here.
Yeah.
Like the bloodlines of Idris. It's just wild. So to wrap up the part 1, Hodge just really dunks on them with some exposition here. He reveals that he was in the circle. So was Clary's mom. And she was married to Valentine.
Valentine?
It's all too
who we
shocking.
learned about on page 3.
I also had a note here that I think is interesting. Again, showing that I think maybe she didn't have the intention of writing a prequel series before. In this chapter, talking about like female Shadowhunters.
I noted that as well, because in her prequel books, both series, women are fighters in the Clave.
Yeah, the quote was, it's only been recently that women have been Shadowhunters along with men. I mean, there have always been women in the Clave, mastering ruins, creating weaponry, hinting at the Iron Sisters, teaching the killing arts, but only a few warriors, one with exceptional abilities. They fought to be trained. Maris is Izzy and Alex's mom. Maris was a part of the first generation. Like, that's wild.
Which
is kind of irrelevant later on.
Yeah, like now that information's irrelevant because so much of what we know about the prequel series is that women were pushed to absolutely be fighters, that the shadow world was in jeopardy. Yes. They needed them to fight.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
It is interesting.
She really doesn't contradict herself that much.
Yeah, so it's alarming. It's not alarming. It's like
it could be. It could be just his interpretation of the history. Again, their history's not noted very well, but it's
true.
And that's
wild.
part 1.